It's the Showdown Podcast, second annual PopCon review episode spectacular. That's right. Thank you so much for listening to the live episode. This is going to be our recap of the Indy PopCon. And boy, what a year it was.
It was.
I'm joined, we're still here or joined with Corey Miller, Vic Miller, Brad Scott. And again, thank you so much for listening to the live episode. We were just humbled and astonished by the thousands of Showdown fans that showed up to support us and watch our very first live episode.
At the PopCon kitchen.
It brought a tear to my eye.
It did.
So many fans.
So what did you guys think of, let's start with that. Let's start with that because that was like the biggest thing for our show over the weekend was the live episode. What did you guys think?
I had fun. I had fun with it. I mean, in the beginning, it was a little weird. Just to try.
I was worried about both of you.
Why?
Well, because there's one of the three of us that is used to a live crowd,
Right.
and it's easy to be in front of a live.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's easy to be in front of a live crowd when they're supportive and on your side.
Right.
I'm the only one with experience in a crowd not liking you and still having to go through the motions and do your job. So
I honestly, the only thing I paid attention to the whole time really was the guy that was standing in the window that was supposed to be working that was watching us the whole show.
Oh, really?
The big black dude that was standing in the corner who was like talking to us while we were doing it, and the girl next to him that was talking to us. Those are the only two people I paid any attention to the entire time we were talking. That's why I was sitting kind of sideways looking across.
So yeah, if you know the show, if you listen to the show, then you could obviously tell that we were being sarcastic when we were referring to the thousands of people. In reality, I mean, we were in the food court and we had maybe 40 people at a time that were in that area. It was interchanging at all times.
Yeah.
And you'd get a handful of people that would listen when you said or did something that maybe piqued their interest, but you had about a 10-second window where if 10 seconds goes by of something that they're not interested or they don't hear, they're done. Yeah, they either leave or they just stop paying
the little
attention.
crew in the corner over by me with the guy that said he was crying. He cried when.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They actually stayed engaged with us for a little while.
Yeah. The one table that was like dead center right behind my good friend Maverick Atterbury, which I feel awful. I already gave him a shout out on WrestleMania. I was supposed to go watch his podcast that Sunday, but that was a long Saturday night for me and ended up having a long Saturday afternoon. My family thing for Father's Day ran late, and I feel awful. But Flannel Cakes podcast, please check that out. They are a great podcast. We are hopefully going to have Maverick on the Showdown sometime in the near future.
Yeah, he actually stuck around and listened
he watched
to
the
whole
entire
thing.
episode,
Yeah.
although he did say he could not hear a word Vic said. He was like, he's like, I kind of tuned out because I literally couldn't hear a word he said, and I didn't want to be like yelling at you guys. And I'm like, I could kind of tell. But
It's all right. We tune him out sometimes, too.
Yeah.
exactly. That's why you probably win more than you should.
Yeah, probably.
But I did notice that, it was rough. And our good friend of the show, Jeff Vibert, has done, I think, a few live podcasts, and I kind of talked to him before about it, and he's like, you have to, it's just like doing stand-up at a bar for nobody that's paying attention.
Yeah.
You have to go through and do your thing, which is, again, why I said I was fine. I knew I would be fine. But you guys both did very well. I was proud of
Thank
you.
you, sir.
I was proud of you.
I stumbled a bit in the beginning.
You were actually, I was way more worried about you just because I had seen you during the Simone episode, just getting to that, oh shit, I'm so nervous. And I was worried you weren't even going to go through your movie. You're just going to be like, it's The Lion King, there's Simba, there's Scar.
Drop the mic.
Mufasa dies. That's the movie. Vic got our hurry up music. That was fun.
Yeah, that shit throws me off every single
But that's
time.
It's supposed to. It's supposed
Every
to get you
time.
to wrap it up. You
I
have
had like
2
a whole
minutes.
fucking list of like facts and shit that
I
you
know,
used
but-
against me, like for not giving out. I was like, I
That's what
never
happens when you
fucking
go
said 'em.
scene by scene, Vic. You're going to go scene by scene through an hour and a half movie. It's probably going to still take you 45 minutes to get through the film. But we had fun doing it.
Yeah,
and we hope that you guys did enjoy listening to it because I think it does. I think it will come across better.
Yeah, and I will apologize if the audio is a little off. We apologize. It wasn't really our soundboard or anything else that we were using, so I couldn't really adjust any of the levels and whatnot. So I got it the best we can. So if you have any issues, just
I think
crank
it'll
it
be.
up.
I think it'll be fine.
I think it'll be okay.
If from what I listened to, just off your laptop, it sounded pretty good.
Yeah.
So
Just double the track and call it a day. We'll be good.
I mean, you're probably not going to be hear like the raging laughter and the roar of the crowd as well because
it's
the
actually-
mics were up there.
Yeah, it's actually a good thing we didn't have that. Oh,
Already.
am I going to get it for real?
Thank you, Vic.
Damn.
Thank you. As I pull up the WWE app. I got one for him.
Well, as you said, it was a late night Saturday night.
It was a very, very late night.
It was even later for us.
Yeah, well, let's get into that. Well, let's first start with Saturday afternoon.
Or do you want to backtrack to Friday? I mean,
We didn't do a whole lot.
Yeah,
Friday.
there wasn't really a whole lot.
We
Friday.
just did kind of the show because Vic and I couldn't get there till later. So, what did you have any interesting experiences Friday during the day?
No.
Thank you for that contribution,
Yeah.
Corey.
Let's
You're
talk
really
about
adding
it,
a lot
and
of
then no.
content to the show.
Yeah, I know.
So let's get to Saturday afternoon,
Yes.
where I wanted to fucking start the first place. We had a lot of fun Saturday afternoon. We got to meet a lot of very cool people. We have several things to plug. I'm sure neither of you have any of that available already.
Not with
my
me,
hint.
no.
Okay, well, we'll try to remember we're so bad at being prepared and being professional. We met so many good people. So we also had a special correspondent with us. How did that turn out? Did we get good?
I haven't listened to it yet.
Great. I'm sure it's lost. We had a correspondent who helped us out. Vic, who was that?
That was your daughter,
Harper Henson.
Harper Henson.
She was our special correspondent. She did a couple of interviews for us, and I believe we got a little more favorable treatment from certain people because she was around,
most
because
definitely.
my daughter is adorable. One of the people we met, Christy Lee, formerly of the Bob and Tom Show, and now has a podcast, Christy Lee Uninterrupted. It is available on her website, ChristyLeeNews.com, or iTunes, Stitcher, and Podomatic.
And honestly, like, I've never actually met her before, and
I had not
to
either,
be
surprisingly.
completely honest, I didn't know who she was at first. I've heard like of her, but I didn't really know. Like,
Well,
I heard the
that's,
name.
that's fair. You're black.
Well, I heard the name, and I just didn't know. Like, I wasn't sure who she was. Like when he was like, "Oh yeah," and you were wanting to see her, so I was like, "Who is this person?" I didn't want to be rude because we were standing like, I'm like, "Who is she?" And then once he told me, I was like, "Oh, I know who she is. I've heard her. I've heard of her talked about from other people about being on Bob and Tom." So I was like, "Oh." She's a great lady. Like
she is so nice.
She was
so
just
sweet.
Like, you guys are. Yeah, she started talking to us and like had a just a real conversation.
And
with us, which was really awesome.
I always try to spend too little of time with people than rather too much. Because being a comedian, I don't know. I know sometimes if people come, like there's times you just, you're fine meeting people, but some people kind of put it into overkill. Some people.
I don't know what you're talking about. To my right? What?
To your right? What? To my left? Who would that be? If it's to your right, to my left, I don't know who that would be. No, I'm just.
I didn't do anything.
I know it's a joke. God damn it, Corey.
Until he walks up and says, when I was younger, I had such a crush on you.
He can't just leave it there.
I didn't actually tell her that.
You did tell her that.
No.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Listen again.
Must have been when I
I
took my daughter to the bathroom.
I don't think you said it like creepily.
No, I said I started listening to her back when I was in middle school. That's when I first started listening to Bob and Tom. So I remember listening to her way back then.
Okay, maybe I just
said
injected that
No,
because
I'm
that's
not-
what he said to me
No,
right before he said that
exactly.
to her.
I said that to you. I didn't say that to her.
Oh, I'm sure just sending her this episode.
Let's hope so.
I'm gonna email it to her.
Well, she promised she was going to listen to the show, so maybe she'll listen to
Well,
this
come on,
episode.
Vic. She's nice, but I mean,
She's nice, but let's be real.
let's put it this way: if we still only have 3 downloads for this episode, I'm guessing she's not one of them.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun meeting her. She was super sweet with my daughter. Again, I think that's another person that maybe, like, if we would have been 3 guys coming up like, oh, we're on a podcast.
Yeah.
Might have been a little more. But she was super. Please check that out. Christy Lee Uninterrupted. The gentleman from Indianapolis that we met,
Drew Powell.
Drew Powell.
Yes.
He's
Yes.
been on Gotham.
Yes. He's on Gotham. He's done some other TV shows as well too.
Very nice.
Yeah,
he's
super nice
He's
guy.
real cool.
Welcome back to the Showdown Podcast. I'm Vic Miller. I'm your host today. We are here at PopCon 2016, and I am here with Drew Powell, local Indianapolis superstar and star of Gotham, and honestly, my favorite character, because big guys got to stick together.
Amen.
You know what I mean?
Amen.
Like all these little pretty boys on the shows, forget that. It's all
Forget
about it's all about the power in the house,
Right. The
right?
dad bod, man. We're full dad bod.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, Gotham is one of our favorite shows, as you know.
Nice.
And one of my favorite scenes is when you just destroy that,
Yeah.
that RPG.
Turn,
Tell us about that.
yeah, turning Azrael into hamburger meat. Yeah. Spoiler alert. If you haven't seen, what? It's aired. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
After that,
So yeah, that was a fun scene to do. We shot that in. We're out on Long Island on location in the middle of the night. It was about 10 degrees. We were right next to Long Island Sound, so it was freezing. Middle of the night, and it was one of those scenes where there was a lot of technical stuff going on, so you had to be really on point. But it's a classic case of you shoot it and you don't really know how it's going to come out, and then finally when it aired, 3 months later or 2 months later, I actually, because I happened to be not on the East Coast, somebody had sent me a clip of the scene, and I saw it and I was like, oh man, that really worked. It was great. It was fun to watch with the music and with everything, the way they cut it together. It was definitely jumped to one of my favorite scenes all time in Gotham.
definitely real worthy, huh?
Absolutely, no doubt.
Definitely real worthy. So, we have a couple questions for you. We do a movie podcast, as we said, where we challenge each other. We also do what's called a Survivor Series, which is a movie. We watch a movie, and then after we watch the movie, we go straight to the table and we talk about the movie.
Okay.
So what is your favorite movie? If you were to turn on the TV in the hotel and there was a show on and there's only 45 minutes left of it, what is that one movie that you would watch every single time?
I think it's such a tough call because there's so many. It's like asking somebody their favorite movie is like, how do you answer that? But I have to say, in terms of, if I'm talking about my real life, the movie that I cannot, and this would seem like a hometown answer, but it's true, the movie that I cannot turn off is Hoosiers. Absolutely. And it's funny because that actually shot in my hometown, parts of it, and I had a chance to be an extra, but I didn't want all the kids, the boys had to shave their head, like do a buzz cut, and I refused to do that. This is, in the 80s.
You had your principles.
Yeah,
You just
exactly.
weren't
I
gonna
wasn't
cross
ready.
that
I
line.
wasn't ready for that. But I think about that now and laugh, considering that's what I would do for a living.
I think it turned out
Yeah,
well.
yeah, it worked out okay.
I think it worked
But that
out.
movie just speaks to me on a lot of levels. I mean, obviously the connection to Hoosier and basketball, which I love, but also the ultimate underdog story and some really great performances by Gene Hackman and Dennis Hopper in particular. So I would love to. I'm ready to remake that. We remake everything else. Let's remake Hoosiers. And
So my question would be, would you do the buzz cut at that point?
by now, yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
You
Well,
made
the
that
problem
lesson.
is I'm too old to play a player, so now it's like my only option is to coach or Hopper's character. So I don't know. Shooter would be pretty good. I could do that. Yeah.
Cool. All right, so here's our secret podcast question of the day. All right. So if you had to have a fight with one thing, you either have to fight with a horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses. Which fight would you take?
This is officially the strangest question anyone's ever asked me, and I love that. I would go, man. The thing is, I think I would be more creeped out by 100 duck-sized horses, because that's a swarm, and that would kind of creep me out. So I think I'm going to go with the horse-sized duck, and now I'm going to have nightmares about that, and I want to thank you for that.
Well, the most interesting part about this is usually big guys like us normally we choose the
little
duck-sized
one.
horses because
Right.
you just start stomping. But the funny part is you said exactly what our answer to that normally is you get swarmed by a bunch of little horses.
100. That's a lot of little horses.
That's a
lot
lot
of little
of
horses.
shin kicks. That's a lot of shin kicks.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for
Thanks,
taking the
man.
time with us today. We appreciate it. Keep up the great work. We love it all.
Cheers, man.
The funny part about it is when we walk past him, Corey is not the person to be like, hey, how's it going? You mind if we talk to you? He's not the approach guy. Like, I get thrown into that most of the time. So he walks
The only
up-
time Corey will approach people is if he is asking them 3 questions before he lets them cross this bridge.
So he just Drew looks at him and says something to him. I wasn't really paying attention. He's like, hey, how's it going? Walks over. They fist bumped or whatever it was. I was like,
Here's the thing.
the whole time we're sitting there, I was like, wow, I didn't even know he knew this guy. And then everything, we kind of had a whole conversation.
That was all part of my game plan. Because what I wore, if you didn't see the picture.
By the way, this is what will be read in court.
Right.
Go ahead.
No, I was actually wearing a Gotham T-shirt.
Your Honor, if we can submit this podcast as evidence.
The T-shirt I was wearing was a Gotham T-shirt, and it had the Penguin on it. So he noticed that first, and that's when he pointed to me. So I came up, and then I don't know. I just felt really comfortable talking to him. So, which normally doesn't happen. I wasn't one of those like I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
It wasn't one of those type of things. So it was.
And he is a local guy.
Yeah, he's from Indianapolis. Well, actually, from Noblesville.
Mm-hmm. But super nice guy. And we talked to him for a while. I mean,
the fact that he was nice to Corey to the point where we were like, they must be friends.
Right. That's what I was thinking. I was
Of all
did he go to
people.
school with him or something? Like, how did he never bring this up? Because he would have dropped it by then. He'd be like, who I know.
Well, I don't like to name drop.
He was wearing an
I
Indians
have a number
hat.
of episodes that say differently.
He was wearing an Indians hat, which
Yep.
was pretty
Yep.
cool. Indianapolis Indians, by
Yes,
the way.
Indianapolis. Not
That is a minor league baseball team in Indianapolis.
Yeah, so we got done chit chatting with him. We're like, can we come back and talk to you? And we did. So
Yeah, he's like, come back. He's like, definitely come back.
Yeah.
Unlike some other people, headbangers, who I walked up to try to get him to see if we could get an interview with him. They're like, oh, no, not right now. Come back at 2:30. Like, all right.
Well, but to be fair, they were trying to make money.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand what they were doing. However, when we walked away, two girls walked up and did exactly what we asked to do, and they had no problem doing
Well,
it. So,
yeah.
needless to
No,
say,
no, Vic, no.
we need to put Corey in a fucking bikini.
No. Well, okay, first of all, I would have done the same thing they did to us. Absolutely.
I
Come
never
back
hold
when
it
I
against
know
them.
I'll probably be at lunch.
Yeah. Oh, and they definitely. We went back at 2:30. That the table was flipped over.
Again, that's on us. And of course, two girls, I'm sure probably semi-attractive at least.
I
If
didn't see the front of them.
Okay. If two girls come up, of course they're going to, But again, I thought everybody at the convention was nice. I didn't think there was one person who was rude. Tara Strong, very, very sweet, very cool. Again, my daughter got to meet her for a few seconds.
Yeah, we did a little bit of we did a Q&A. We went over to her Q&A. And Harper stood up and waved, and I was like waving my camera on the stick in the air to get the guy's attention. And he comes over and he's standing right next to Harper, and Harper does not even realize he's standing there. And she's jumping up and down like with her hand up in the air. And I'm like, Harper, he's gonna let you ask the question. Look, he's right next to her. She's like, please. I'm like, look next to you. And he's holding the microphone up to her. She had no idea he's standing there. I'm like, ask your question, and she's like, oh, okay.
She is
hilarious.
so I have the same problem. It's a focus thing.
But she asked her the question. She asked Tara Strong if one of the pony characters is an alicorn or something like that.
Which is a princess or a queen or something.
Is that what it is?
Something
okay.
along those lines.
So she asked her the question, and everyone in the hall, including Tara Strong, had no idea. She's like, I get asked the question by the cutest little girl in the place, and I can't even answer the question. And she's like, does anybody else know? And they're all like, no. So your daughter can officially say she stumped Tara Strong.
I couldn't answer it. I have no idea what.
I didn't even know what an
watched My
alicorn
Little
was.
Pony, so I wouldn't know if it was a good question or not.
Oh, I don't.
Well, I officially got branded as a pony at some point, so she decided
yeah.
I was Big Mac, which apparently is a Clydesdale in the My Little Pony universe.
Does that mean you have a Big Mac on your ass?
No, it's a gigantic apple on his ass.
Yeah, I didn't understand the apple. I was like, well, Big Mac shouldn't be like a cow or hamburgers.
Something. But yeah, so
we did talk to a 12-year-old video game programmer.
Yeah,
He's
sounded creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
We asked him if he wanted to get in this van with us that we had.
He created the game Foes.
Phosc, Phosc.
Yeah.
This kid is gonna be fucking rich
He's-
and super successful.
He's you can find them on Twitter at Chain React Games. And we had a chance to look a little bit at the game.
Well, yeah, because we stopped and he was very sociable, and we asked him about the game, and I assumed like his dad made the game and he was kind of doing the promoting,
helping the booth.
and then he's like, "No, I made the game," and I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
What? No, go fuck yourself. And no, he did. He made the game.
Yeah, start to finish. He did
start
it
to finish.
himself.
The only thing his dad helped him with was the Kickstarter to get him the money to make the game.
Well, he said his dad said even with the Kickstarter thing, he's like, well, look up how to do a Kickstarter. The kid did the whole thing.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
and his dad helped him build the site for it. But the kid literally, from start to finish, everything about that game was him.
And as soon as we started the interview, he immediately took over and was just plugging
he just snatched the
everything.
mic from you. Didn't
I let him have it. I let him have it. Absolutely. I like the determination and just smart kid, man.
Yeah. Next to Drew Powell, that was my second favorite person in the entire place.
Most interesting person at Indy PopCon to me.
We also saw another game that we saw last year that was part of the whole gaming.
Happy Badger.
I am Chicago.
No, not that one. That one wasn't back. It was the one if you remember back to last year, we said it was kind of a bad game because it was like trying to fly triangles through this.
Oh yeah.
We're trying
Smuggler
to
or something.
Smuggler's Run, I think, was the name of it, or something like that.
Yeah, it was literally last year, just like fucking triangles flying through or like squares and octagons and rectangles and shit. It was awful.
It was a low polygon game that's designed to look like that, but literally looked like nothing more than like just lines on a screen. And playing it was a two-player game.
It was hard as fuck to figure out like what way you were supposed to go and where you were supposed to
turn around. You're screwed.
Like what was a wall and what wasn't.
Yeah,
But
they were back
this year,
and kudos.
Yeah, definitely.
Kudos.
Because as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Holy crap!" They did a bunch of that.
And
game.
but
they
you know,
cleaned it up some.
One thing that
They
annoyed
played
me
it
though.
Off. They played it off.
Because that was like one of our first questions. I think we asked him was like, so last year was awful.
Yeah,
which maybe to be fair, we shouldn't have come. But I mean, come on, I thought they were gonna have a sense of humor
She's
about
like, "I'm
it.
so bad. I'm so sorry." Like we have the interview on tape where she actually says, "I'm so sorry the game didn't work for you guys.
Not work for us."
Bad. No, it didn't when we were playing.
No, I'm saying, but it just didn't. It didn't work for anybody.
Yeah,
It wasn't very good. But this year, it was really
it's
good.
It's a 4-player game now. It's got. I mean, they've put actual backgrounds. It
looked really good. Yeah.
They've added some color and shading to it, and it looked really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kudos
enough
to them.
To catch our eye as soon as we saw it.
Mm-hmm. By the way, do they even make kudos anymore?
The
like little granola bars. Are those still a thing?
I think so.
Remember kudos?
Yeah.
They were good.
I think so.
Those peanut butter chocolate ones? Delicious. They're supposed to be bringing back Ecto Cooler. We'll talk about that another time.
There was another game that we looked at. It was Jelly Realms.
Hey, Showdown listeners and viewers. We're here at Indy PopCon, and I'm here with Stuart. He's creator of Jelly Realms Games. Stuart, how are you?
I'm excellent. How are you?
I am fantastic. Now, tell us about Jelly Realms.
Jelly Realms is a match 3 puzzle game based on my wife's jellyfish RPG characters. One of the big ideas that we had for this was a toy tie-in product. We wanted to, whenever you buy a plushie, you get that same, we give you a code that unlocks that same character in the game for you. We're launching a Kickstarter next month. There are several Kickstarter exclusive characters, including Peli K, a power metal singer from Norway, Gaijin Goomba, Team 4 Stars Demon God Dumplin', and popular Tumblr artist Error.
Now, we are going to get some royalties for you using Vic as one of your characters, right?
Vic?
That's
That's
Vic
me.
right there.
Oh. I can relate to him.
He is Ganjin Goomba.
Gaijin Goomba is another popular YouTuber. He does culture and gaming. So he gave us permission to use his thing.
Oh, wow. Then I need to talk to that guy.
And when did you come up with Jelly Realms?
Around, I believe, about a year and a half ago, my wife does Artist Alley, and she created these jellyfish characters in order to have more original products. And I noticed that, so we've got this really complicated wizard character here, and a couple of years ago we were selling him for only $25, and as a handmade character for $25, this is quite low, because it takes a lot of time to do this. Well, people were passing this up, and they would buy like an Oddish, like that really simple seed Pokemon, for $40, and that frustrated me greatly, because the difference between Oddish and this guy is because, well, you know who Oddish is. You're buying, your Oddish. Well, so my idea was to then turn these guys into a game, so when you buy from us, you're not just buying any jellyfish, you're buying your jellyfish.
Very cool.
And where is the game available at?
Currently, the game is not available yet. We're still in prototype phase. A demo will be available on jellyrealms.com come July 1st, just in time for the Kickstarter that will be released July 15th.
Awesome. This is Stuart. This is Jelly Realms. Check it out July 1st, jellyrealms.com.
Yeah, he apparently his wife had created they had created an idea to make a game that actually had a merchandise piece attached to it. So they designed all the characters and they created plushes to match those characters. And I think that she probably had like an Etsy shop because that first one he looked at looked real homemade. So like they had an Etsy shop and they were making these little characters and then they just kind of expanded it into a game. To make some extra cash with it. The game itself looked pretty good as far as what it was, and I think it's just like a little puzzle type fighting game. But it didn't look bad at all, considering it was just him and he got one programmer to do the rest of it. Freelance.
We also did talk to Lloyd Kaufman. Again, we didn't get this one on we didn't record this one. We were just kind of hanging out.
Lloyd's probably like, oh, it's that Corey guy again.
Well, here's what's funny about
From
Lloyd.
the slowdown.
From the Slowdown podcast.
Well, what's funny about Lloyd is I actually had him sign one of my DVDs, and he was like, what was your name again? And when I told him, he was like, "Oh yeah, I saw you stand over there, and it didn't come to him." I'm like, "How many times have you told that to people?"
His exact words were, he's like, "Well, what's your name again?" He's like, "Corey." He's like, "Yeah. I was standing over here, and I looked over, and I saw it, and I was like, hey, there's Corey." But I forgot. As soon as you walked up, I just couldn't believe you forgot your name. I'm like, wow.
Best wardrobe in the entire convention.
Yes.
And I'm counting cosplayers. No one matched Lloyd Kaufman in a airbrush Tupac jacket.
Yeah, I've seen other pictures of him wearing that, and when I saw it when I saw it on Saturday, I just died laughing. It's funny.
That also, my daughter pretty freaked out by Toxie.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, was not a fan of that. Did not want to be there.
that's funny.
But she was fine with Michael Myers.
Oh, yeah.
She walked right up to him. I listened to the video. I was watching the video of it when we recorded it. And she's like, what made you go on a murderous rampage? And I'm like,
Man, Ursula did not get what she was
no,
doing.
not at all. All Ursula wanted to do was plug her crap.
Yeah, my daughter asked her a question in character. Why did you trick Ariel? And she's like, I'm with a group that goes to help children and dresses like princess. I'm like, no, we want you to answer as Ursula.
Yeah. I'm here with a girl that's dressed up as whatever the hell the other fish chick is.
I couldn't even hear that, so now I know we're not using that.
No, we can use it because it's kind of funny the fact that my daughter is asking her questions in character and she's
just like,
she's just again like plugging
which
her
makes
shit.
no sense because 2 seconds before that she was in character with the other girl that she took the picture with.
Yeah, probably.
Like I'm like, why? She
Probably
saw
had
a
blonde
camera
hair,
and
blue
a
eyes.
microphone and was like, oh, I should probably say something about the thing.
Yeah. And that's the thing too is like when we do that, we like to do it when they're in character. So
Yeah, Vic didn't understand that.
Vic
with
didn't
the
understand
Emperor.
that either.
Oh.
Asking him the real person question. What the fuck do we give a shit about whoever the guy is dressed up? Let's ask the Emperor some questions.
I think I said that, mind you.
No, you asked him. Corey, back me up.
Yeah, you did.
No, I asked him which name he was going by, Emperor or Emperor Palpatine or Darth Sidious. I was the one asking him which character.
But that sounds like you're asking the guy which character he's dressing. I don't know. That doesn't mean something. Because a question would have been to ask something about Star Wars or something about the
but
movie.
I didn't know. Okay, so if I walk up to him and he's cosplaying as Darth Sidious, which is what he wants to go by, and I call him the Emperor, it's not the character he's playing. And then he's going to turn around and go.
But you ask him that off camera. You go, hey, are
I
you
thought we were off camera. I was asking. That's what I was asking originally. I didn't
Vic,
realize we were
always
recording.
rolling.
Yeah, right. Okay.
No, I'm saying no. Unless we're actually supposed to be rolling, then Corey fucking turns it off.
Oh,
but
pardon
anytime we're not supposed
I
to
was
be,
just
it's probably
wanting to make
off.
sure I called him by what he was actually going by. That's the only thing that.
Mm-hmm.
This is because you guys don't know the lore doesn't mean I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
What else was there? I'm trying to think of what else. Well, I guess we could. Do we want to jump to Saturday night?
Yeah. Well, was there anything else that we went or saw or whatever Saturday day?
We saw baby puppy. Or what is that?
Baby puppy monkey.
Oh, baby puppy. Yeah, was
That was the
Puppy baby monkey.
I don't
Maybe
know what
that's
it
it.
is.
Whatever the hell.
Whatever the
that
hell
thing
it is,
from
it
the
freaks
Mountain
me
Dew.
out.
Yeah.
That thing is freaky as hell. But someone was cosplaying at it, and they actually did a really good job at it.
Yeah, they
but
were.
it had a diaper on, so that's what did me in.
They're the dude on the Segway. Was that was the Emperor or Darth Sidious,
Yes.
right? That was pretty. Or, not Segway.
It was a hoverboard.
Hoverboard.
Yeah, those things that blow up.
Yeah.
So I guess that's.
And there was an amazingly tall Master Chief.
Oh yeah,
We
from
walked past
Halo.
that dude. I was expecting like him to be in like stilt boots, and when I walked by and looked, he flexed his foot down. I was like, "Holy crap! That guy is actually that tall. He had to have been 7 foot at least."
No, I'd
Dude,
say
I'm telling you.
6'9". Dude,
It's close.
I'm 6 foot. He was not a full foot taller than me.
Did you get close to that guy?
I did.
He was a lot taller than me, and I don't think you're that much taller than me, are you?
I don't know.
He was a lot taller than he looked. He was really,
I
really.
think it would
fucking
depend
tall.
on if you have the gout or not.
That would make me taller.
That would make, that would raise you up a
Foot
few
swells
inches.
up.
Okay, so let's jump into Saturday night.
Saturday night. Saturday night we ended up splitting off because Brad had a ticket to see wrestling, while Vic and I were going to see Yoga Hosers and Kevin Smith's podcast afterwards.
So let's start with you guys.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny the way that they had the line going because there were so many people in line. We like started out in one place and then they moved us and then they decided to move us again and then we ended up back to where we started out in the first place. So that was kind of funny to begin with. But they did a real good job as far as getting everybody in.
They were managing a lot of people. Like,
yeah.
I don't know exactly how many it was, but I know that
I think Carl told me that that room holds 3,500.
Okay, so 3,500 people, and I know
Was it full?
It wasn't full, but it was
pretty
very close. It was, I would say, 3/4 of the way it was full.
And they had a bunch. They had a big area that was saved seats. They were all reserved. Lloyd came in there. Who was it? Kelly Maroney.
The chicks from Night of the Comet.
Yeah, Kelly Maroney and I forget the other girl's name. They were there, but then there was some empty seats throughout that section. But overall, it was pretty full for it.
And how was the movie?
Surprisingly, good. I was really expecting
There
it
was
to
a
be.
pause there. Did you?
I was
notice that?
really expecting because the way he downplayed the movie is like it's this really weird thing. You guys, a lot of people probably won't like it. Like he played it down a lot, and he usually does do that, but not to the level that he's been doing it with.
No,
this.
he didn't do that with Red State.
I thought it was going to be like a really, really like awkward Kevin Smith movie, but it wasn't. It was just really kind of fun. Like the whole movie was kind of fun.
What's up with the dude with the weird head?
The weird head.
They're sausage people.
Yes.
They're little sausage
bratwursts.
minions.
They're bratwursts.
Bratzies. And they were
AKA
created
Nazis.
by a Nazi scientist that basically turned them into. He cooked them as little sausage people, and yeah, it's really.
They were
weird.
going to help him take over the world.
That's why he was talking about it being super freaking weird, and that's why I was like, this is going to be odd.
And that makeup was done by Robert Kirkman, or not Robert, guy that did the Walrus from Tusk.
I was going to say, what was better, that or Yoga Hosers or Tusk?
I got to go with Tusk.
It was really a different movie.
What's more enjoyable? What has more entertainment value?
Entertainment wise, I enjoyed this one better, more than Tusk.
Yeah,
It had more.
I really like Tusk.
No, Tusk was good, but it was more like it was more fun than Tusk was. Tusk was kind of weird and serious, but interesting. This was just like off the wall kind of stuff, which made it really funny.
No, I don't. There was a lot of jokes in the third act that were all jokes that they might be funny, but they might be even funnier if you listen to his podcast because that's pretty much where they were taken from. The main guy that's the Nazi is played by Ralph Garman, who is his co-host on Hollywood Babylon. And he does a lot of voices, impersonations. He does Al Pacino, Schwarzenegger.
Hoo-ah!
Hoo-ah! But yeah, and he, in the movie, he had frozen himself, and because of a power outage, he became unfrozen, and so he had to sit. He was bored sitting down in this little bunker that was underneath this convenience store.
The A through Z.
And so he was watching Netflix and watching a lot of movies, and so he was watching Al Pacino movies and Schwarzenegger movies and whatnot, and so the character learned these different impersonations, and so Kevin tailored the script to where he could do the impersonations on screen as part of the movie. So you had that, which was funny. It's funny for me because I listen to the show, so I get it, and it's fun. It's funny to actually see it. and I think there's some other jokes that are in there too.
Well, like the Bratzies themselves, they do this bit on there. They're the Germans, and they do like
They're
people
Germans,
ask them
they're
to do
not
things.
Nazis.
Yeah, they're Germans, but they're not Nazis. It's a whole thing. But both the Bratzies and that character were kind of born on that show when they used them in the movie as part of the show. But his daughter did really well. Johnny Depp's daughter's in it. Johnny Depp is in it.
I was getting ready to ask.
Johnny Depp was hilarious.
Is he still the same character from Tusk?
Exact same character. And then his daughter and Kevin Smith's daughter were in Tusk as the two that were at the A through Z.
Yeah,
that were trying to tell them where to go.
They
So
come
I mean,
back as the same characters.
yeah, it plays off really well. It's just it's a lot of fun.
Any
It's a lot of
call
fun.
back to Tusk?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot. There's like a newspaper article that's hanging
And Johnny
up in the
Depp wrote a
convenience
book
store.
about his experience with the
Yeah.
Tusk thing, and that's talking.
Oh,
about
his
it.
character.
Yeah. His character wrote a book about the Tusk thing altogether and sold it, and they're like, it didn't do very well.
Yeah. And from what I understand, the book that's in the movie, that's actually something that somebody else created, and Kevin Smith got a hold of it and used it in the movie. So that's what was the prop for that. And there's even a newspaper article in the convenience store talking about, these are the two girls that helped save them.
Yeah, they're heroes because they helped save the walrus.
Even
whatever
though they
they
really
called
didn't do anything, if you think about it.
In 2022, we are doing Survivor Series Tusk.
But yeah, and then there's even some cameos in there. I don't want to give away one of the cameos, one of the guys that comes into the convenience store.
Yeah.
But
her mom's in it. Her mom plays her mom in the
Yeah.
in the movie.
And then again, if you listen to Kevin Smith's podcast, he's got a dog, a wiener dog, and the Nazi in the big.
Shecky!
One of the flat.
Trying to do a podcast, Shecky.
That's a good impersonation. The Nazi is actually holding Shecky, and they never mention it, and that's just the one little scene. And actually, in the Q&A afterwards, somebody says, "Was that Shecky?" And he's like, "Yes." I can't believe anybody even happened to notice that, but yeah, because
So let's not give away
the
entire movie. It hasn't even come out in theaters yet.
Yeah.
But let's. How was the Q&A?
Well, to start off, he shows up late. That was for the preview to the movie. We're all sitting there waiting, and they end up. They're like, "Well, we're gonna have Lloyd Kaufman and the chicks from the Night of the Comet movie come up and talk until Kevin gets here because he's lost." Yeah. They didn't know where he was. He was walking around. He didn't know how to get to the thing. He was just lost.
My guess is he was back by a dumpster smoking a joint.
Well, no, I was just saying, because they have all those fucking people on golf carts. Why couldn't one of them have gone and picked him? Why is he walking through the convention
Kevin
center?
Smith, he does shit like that.
He was getting
for
stoned.
whatever reason. He was late.
For whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Was he medicinally late?
Probably.
Yeah, I'm sure if you ask Carl, he's got a different answer.
So what time did they actually start the movie? It's supposed to start at 8, right?
I don't know what.
I don't think it started till like almost 10 o'clock.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because then he talked. And if
once he
anyone
got there.
knows, anyone who's ever listened to Kevin Smith, when he does a Q&A, if you don't plan for an hour and a half Q&A, you're dumb.
So he did an hour and he did it like
he did
a
an hour and a
Q&A
half like preview, like not a question and answer, but just talking about the movie and different aspects and things with his kid and stuff like that. Then they started the movie. Then he did an hour Q&A after the movie.
Yeah.
And-
and the funny thing is too, even with in the whole part before the movie, if you've listened to any of his podcasts, you've already heard these stories about 20 times.
Same story.
Yeah.
Well, and we should mention that now we have a friend of the show for the Kevin Smith podcast. Our very own Vic Miller weaseled his way into the podcast. But
There was
I guess
no weaseling.
that's afterwards. Let's get to the Q&A. What was the most interesting question that was asked? And what what was the most interesting response to a question?
Well, we couldn't give you the response because it would take another hour.
Well,
What's the most interesting thing you learned from the Q&A?
I think the most enjoyable part was not listening to him talk about the movie, but watching his daughter respond about the movie, because you can tell
His daughter was there too?
Yeah, she's a 17-year-old kid, and like all of this attention that's getting thrown onto her and everything's going on, and watching her reaction to some of the stuff he says is really funny. Like he starts talking about screwing her mom, and she's like, I hate this part of the podcast. It's like just stuff like that. But there were a lot of people that were just like, most of it was general, like, really like the movie, or can I come up and get a hug, or can you sign this for me? There's a guy who had a actually, that was kind of the funny part. He goes, he walks up and says, the guy had a tusk tattoo.
I can't remember what the tattoo.
I think the one guy had a tusk tattoo, and Kevin had signed it, and he went to a tattoo artist and had the tattoo artist go over Kevin's signature. But then he wanted the daughter to sign it, so she went up and signed it. He was going to have the same thing done. Some other guy pops up next to the stage, like Kevin's standing stage left. If you're looking at the stage, like towards the front of the stage, this other guy pops up and goes, "I have a Kevin Smith tattoo," and he's like right in his face, like right below him, and he's like, "Holy shit, man, you do have a Kevin Smith tattoo." He's, "I don't even have a Kevin Smith tattoo," and he points at it. He's like, "Look at that," to his kid, like, "Look, this guy's got my face on his arm." And the guy walks away, and he's like, "That's fucking awesome." And he goes, "And security, what the fuck?" I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I think you and I, Vic and I, have been to Kevin's Q&As before, and people do this all the time where they're like, "Hey, can I come up and get an autograph, or can I get a picture?" And I'm like, that kind of, I don't know, is it just me, or is it kind of annoying?
I think for me, it's kind of annoying, like because they'll tell you, like right at the beginning, they're like, "Hey, we want to make sure people get to ask questions. Please refrain from asking for autographs and pictures and yada yada."
Yet they do it anyway.
But they do it anyway, and they always go, "All right, yeah, come on up and do it." The funny part is, though, the one guy came up to get his leg signed, right? He's standing at the end of the stage. Kevin goes on asking another person a question. That guy ends up coming up to the stage. So there's two guys waiting to like see them in person. He asks another question and completely forgot those two were standing over there. So he looks over and he's like, "What the hell are they doing there?" He's like, "Oh, that's right, I'm supposed to." And then he calls him up onto the stage. So I mean, I think it's just like it's an inconvenience for the other people that are trying to like ask serious questions because it distracts them.
Yeah.
And like there's Q&As and there's signings, and this wasn't necessarily a signing. It was just, you're supposed to ask them questions, and there weren't. I think one of the best ones, though, also was this lady was like, "I don't even really pay much attention," and talking about the bad parenting. "I don't think I've ever shown my kid one of your movies." And he's like, "Oh, I don't know how to take that."
Real quick, am I the only one that finds the irony in Corey hating something he would totally do? The reason Corey hates those people so much is because they always think of it before him. I guarantee it. It's the same. It's the exact thing Corey would do, is to raise his hand at a Q&A and ask to come up and get an autograph or a picture, or would you come up and give me a bumper for my podcast?
I knew you were going to go there. But see, that's the thing.
It's such a Corey thing.
You would think that. You, Brad Scott, would think that, but I seriously, I would not do that because I know it's a Q&A. It's not something, I don't want to sit there and be that guy that does that. I mean, because as Vic said, people are wanting to ask serious questions and find out about things, yet you're up there saying, "Oh, can I get an
And it gets him on these little tirades he goes on where he doesn't stop talking for like each question's like a 30-minute answer.
Yeah.
So if you start asking them ridiculous things, then you're going to get these long. And let me tell you, there isn't probably a person that was at that thing that hasn't listened to a Kevin Smith podcast at some point. So that's the thing that I don't understand. Why ask him the same question you know the answer to because you've heard every other time he's answered that question? Ask something else.
And if you haven't heard it, start listening to his podcast.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's like Freebird. Maybe they just want to hear the hits.
Maybe.
So let's move on to the podcast. How was the podcast recording?
The podcast recording was really good. I actually enjoyed it a lot, mainly because I wanted to meet Mark Bernardin. Like that was like past Kevin Smith, who I greatly enjoy and admire. I wanted to meet Mark Bernardin
because Mark is the black guy on Kevin's podcast.
Oh, he's the Vic.
What's going on here?
It's racist.
Do it again.
That's racist. What's going on here?
So, again, I wanted to ask them a question. Like, I had my hand up. I wanted to ask them a question. And the entire time I'm sitting there, there's just people asking the same fucking crap they ask all the time. Never got my question. Never got to ask my question.
Well, they don't, on the podcast part, they don't do the questions.
They did. There were people raising their hand. He was talking to people.
Oh yeah, I
about
guess
stuff.
they did. I guess they did slightly at the end.
And but Vic found a way on there anyways. Vic,
Well,
tell
it's
us
because
how
I
you
know stuff.
Let's tell us
Yeah,
tell
go
us
ahead,
about
explain
that.
All right. So they were talking about the Warcraft movie, and Mark Bernardin is the film editor for the New York Times. So he was telling them basically the movie sucked. Here, it's made a butt ton of money overseas. In China, it's like the largest release in Chinese history for a foreign made film. And it's beat out Furious 7, which was prior the record holder prior to that. And they're having a conversation, and they're like, "Well, I wonder why that is." I said, "Gold farmers," and they're all like, "What?" And this other guy behind me said the same thing. So he's like, "What the hell does that mean?" And they started talking about it. I was like, "Well, the Chinese people probably play World of Warcraft more because it's a business for them." And basically, he wanted to know what the hell a gold farmer was, so I got to explain to them what a gold farmer is.
What is a gold farmer?
So in the World of Warcraft, which I play, it is a person who runs around in the game basically collecting things, selling them at the auction houses, selling them at the online stores in the game to get gold, which is the currency in the game. Well, if you don't have gold, you can't buy any good stuff. So what the Chinese and Asian people have figured out is if they get a house like this and they put 30 people in the house, they put a big long row of tables and put computers in the middle of the table, and they get up, they eat breakfast, they sit down, they start playing World of Warcraft. They all belong to the same group, and then they all take that money and put it into an account, into one character, and that character sells that gold to Americans who don't have time to play the game and get their own gold, so that they can then go and buy the good stuff in the game. So rather than me wasting time playing the game for multiple hours, there's Chinese guys in a sweatshop somewhere playing the game.
What?
And I can buy that gold at like $50 for like 10,000
Actual money?
gold. Actual money.
Can you imagine the Wi-Fi going on in that house or that warehouse?
I can tell you, no, T1 lines built in. Like, I'm serious. This is like a big thing. Like, you know what a sweatshop looks like. Imagine a sweatshop, but instead of sewing machines, they have they have computers in front of them, and they sell that shit for real money.
Kind of like at the end of this week's episode of Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
So how does this translate over to Yoga Hosers being the biggest Chinese movie ever?
No, not Yoga Hosers. Warcraft. They were talking about the Warcraft.
They were talking about
Warcraft.
the movie and
Yeah.
how much money that is made over in China. Vic's theory is all those people are like, well, I played so much, I'm going to go watch the movie, so that's why they made so much money.
That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard in my fucking life.
It's a thing. It's a thing in a lot of stuff. There's tons there. Almost all games that have some sort of a built-in currency has people who sell something to get real money out of it. If it's not, I mean, I know people who have actually built up and sold characters in the game for thousands of dollars. So they'll have a high-level character that does a lot of damage output, and they will sell it to a person for real
Buy
money.
or get out.
Exactly.
You buy now. So then,
I feel sorry for your mother.
what'd you say about my mama? So while we were at that, Brad was across the hall watching wrestling.
Strong Style was the promotion, and it's called The Invasion. And
Who were some of the people there?
the headbangers, the headliners were the headbangers, the dude with the Mankind mask,
Abyss.
You
had Grandmaster
Tommy
Sexy.
Grandmaster, Grandmaster Sexy.
Didn't you ask him this question?
I did.
He's just jumping all over your
He
mic.
looked like he was struggling.
He's just jumping all over your mic.
No, I
Look
mean
at him.
those and Jimmy Hart. Those were the
yeah.
biggest names.
I felt kind of bad we missed Jimmy Hart because like when you guys left Saturday, I walked past there and he was like just standing in the middle of the walkway, not even like by the booth he was in. He was just in the middle of the hall of the walkway talking to everybody and like just handing out things to people and like taking pictures with everybody like he wasn't there to make money at all.
Yeah.
It was really
I think he still somehow signed through WWE for something,
Like
a Legends contract or
Yeah,
something.
he's probably under Legends. I saw him. It must have been. I think it was Sunday when I went back. He was at Chad Engle's booth. The
caricaturist.
the caricaturist. He
That
was
was
at
his
his
booth.
booth. So, but
If
I
you didn't
go up
notice,
to-
all of the caricature art that was up there was Jimmy Hart stuff.
But I didn't go up to him and talk to him or anything like that. So
Why
'cause
not?
I was just.
Why did you get our bumper? Damn it!
Well, it was more. It was. I was just afraid that I didn't.
There it is. I was just afraid.
For also telling this story that has no point. I saw him, but I didn't talk to him or approach him. So I'm sorry. Maybe did I cut you off too soon?
I was just gonna say that no.
Were you agreeing that he was very approachable? Is that what it was?
So back to Saturday.
Let's just go back to Saturday.
So they set up kind of similar. They set up, there was 3,100 chairs set up for the wrestling. There was maybe 200 people there.
Really?
It was so sad. And I'm guessing a lot of that has to do with Kevin Smith. I think they kind of got fucked by that. Because I can imagine there's a lot of crossover fans there that probably chose Kevin Smith and seeing a movie early.
I'll say this. I know that there was somebody that's in front of us in line when we were going back into the podcast. What they did was after the movie, they took everybody out. And then you had your hand stamped if you had a ticket for the podcast. So then they brought everybody back in. But there was somebody that was in front of me that had been over to the wrestling. And then
was it a younger, was it two guys?
Yeah, it was the
Like
guy.
blonde hair, like a goatee maybe?
Oh, fuck, I don't know.
Because they're probably the two guys I sat with at the event. Because they were going to go to they left the wrestling a little early to go over and get in line for the podcast.
Mind you, let me vent this for a second. Thanks a lot to the dick that was sitting in the row with me. Okay, so the guy that was sitting right next to me, he was pretty awesome. He said that they drove from upstate New York. Him and his 9-year-old son drove from upstate New York to come to PopCon. He's like, let's go do something. His kid's like, okay. He drove all the way here with him. Okay, so he gets here, and his kid is like bum-ass tired. This kid is like barely coherent. He's like wobbling and falling over on his dad. It was pretty cute. But the kid woke up when the Q&A started, and he was like really kind of attentive. The dick that was on the other side of him, there's a chair next to that kid, right? He's sitting across his chair and the other chair going, no, I'm saving this seat for somebody. My kid is sitting back behind us with Corey, and there's literally two seats, one there and then one at the other end. If they had to slid down, both Corey and my kid could have come up and sat down. So then they do this thing. What's that guy's name? They go, oh, we're going to see how nice you guys are. All you guys that are in the VIP section, which was $30 per seat, mind you. Would you mind if we let all the other people that are at the Q&A come up and sit with you? I'm like, you going to give me 15 of my bucks back?
No.
Like, all right, that's fine. So they let everybody move up, which is fine. But this dickhead sat in that seat literally until, like, I would say 30 minutes into the interview, and then he slides over. I'm like, motherfucker.
Now let me ask you about that because I didn't really ask you about that. Was there still a cutoff to where we could come up to, or
no? There were people like there were two seats in the front row, and somebody ran from back there and came up front. Like they didn't give any cutoff at all. And if it wasn't for the fact that my phone was dead, I would have called you guys to come up. I actually stood up a couple times and looked to see where you were, but I couldn't find you.
We were literally
I can't see that far out. So
for the podcast, we were literally in the last row.
Were you?
Yeah, and even when we moved up, and we saw a couple spots, but they were taken. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I said it's a podcast.
Yeah.
It's not really a visual thing anyway, so we don't have to watch.
Still,
it.
I would have rather sat with my kid.
Yeah.
Without having to pay the extra money.
No, what I was telling him was, I'm like, fuck it, let's just sit back here in the back and
he went to sleep.
He did. He fell asleep a couple times. I came damn near close to falling asleep too, just because it was so late. We didn't actually get out of there till like 2 in the morning.
Yeah, it was 2 a.m. when we left.
And we got there that morning at like what was it, like 10, something like that. So it was a long fucking day. But back to the wrestling. How was that?
It was good. Headbangers were really, really good. You could tell that they enjoyed being there, and they actually put a lot of effort into the match. It's probably one of the longer matches of the night. There was a guy called the Serial Killer, who was like an Irish Enzo Amore. Very, very entertaining. Very, very fun to watch. Probably the highlight of the night was the Ninja with Attitude. This black ninja. This black ninja who at one point in time stood up on the second rope. During the match, this kid couldn't have been older than 8 or 9 years old. This little boy sitting in the seat directly in front of me is yelling out, "Boo, you suck." And he looks at him and he says, "I'm going to find out where you live and I'm going to slit your throat."
Oh my God.
And everybody like around was like, "Oh, like, that's a little harsh." He is 8. Don't think he realizes this is fake.
Right. He may not
or
know.
Scripted. And then he started going off on the crowd after the match. And he's like, "Fuck you, ignorant redneck motherfucking Hicks, blah, blah, blah." And like to the point where the owner came up like a match later in between and was like, "I'm sorry. This is not part of the show. That wasn't part of the script. We apologize. you know.
Wow.
Blah, blah. And I talked to the dude after it. He says somebody called him the N-word. I never heard that. But again, I wouldn't. It's not one of those things where I would be shocked if it were true.
Well, no.
I mean, it could, but it also could have been one of those things where he just thought he was being really edgy, and then when he got in trouble, he's like, "No, somebody called me the N-word."
Yeah.
So it was one of those two, but he seemed really nice. We're friends on Facebook now.
Oh, so you talked to that guy?
Oh yeah, I went. Here's the thing: there were so few people there. I just wandered to the back. That's how I got the picture with Jimmy Hart. Met Zane Paisley, who was an awesome guy who's really heavily involved in the indie circuit. He was actually the one that was like helping Jimmy through the weekend and like his handler or whatever. And he's a rasshole.
Rasshole.
It's a WrestleMania listener. I thought you were one too, but apparently not.
Did you really just miss that?
No.
Like they've been saying "rasshole" like forever.
No, No, I was actually trying to get it explained for the listeners.
Oh, okay. Rasshole. I don't buy that at all.
Really, that was a really good backup there.
Jesus.
Somebody call you the N-word. But all in all, it was a very, very good event. It was one of those things. And Brent and I were talking about this on WrestleMania, available on iTunes, Podomatic, and Stitcher. That's WrestleMania with an A, WrestleMania. We were talking about. It reminded me of there was a time when Nate Bargatze was at Crackers and Broad Ripple. Nate Bargatze is one of the best comedians in the country, and we had some really good shows. But there was two that were less than half full, and it's just my thought is I wish more people were seeing how good of a show this is.
Right.
And that's how I felt about that one. It was a really good show, but it was just when you have 3,100 seats. Less than 200 looks empty.
Yeah, and I saw some pictures online, and it did look pretty empty.
But that's not. But again, a lot of those guys still were very professional. Came out, gave it their all, and acted like it was full. And again, I think the Kevin Smith thing really hurt him.
Yeah.
Well, that and there was also a big after party in the esports arena, which I can talk about that when we're done with the wrestling thing too.
That's about it. I mean, everything else was great. It was fun. I got hammered, and then I had a good time. I mean, not hammered. I got 6 beers.
Where they had beer in the hall?
No, like in the lobby.
Really?
Or they always do.
I didn't know.
They have little bars set up all over the place. Yeah,
I didn't see any.
Yeah, I didn't see that at all.
So if you go out of the wrestling and turn right and go back into that main hallway, they're right there.
Some of them.
They must have set it up late then, just for that.
I don't know. Well, no, because they were done at 10.
So did not even notice that. So on Friday night, I walked over to the esports arena, which was in the Pan Am Plaza skating rink area. Walked up to the door, and there's a bunch of people walking in front of me, and the security guy at the door is like, you guys can't come in this way. You got to go around the other way and pay to get in. And then he looks at me, and I was like, okay. So I started to turn around, and he's like, oh, you're press? I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, what organization are you with? I said, press. He's like, oh, okay. Let me in. I was like, okay.
I could. What does it matter what organization I'm with?
Well, because you still have we had the pass. I ended up going and get it clipped, but you have the pass where you're supposed to get a clip to show that you're with press, that you came in, because you're only supposed to go in one time. Now you're not allowed to go in keep going in because you have a press pass whenever you want. But he let me in on the other side. I went over and got it clipped anyway because I didn't want to get anybody in trouble. And but I went up front, sat down, got the third row in, watched them while they were getting everything set up. Which that thing was, they had a really nice setup in there. They had the big stage, then they had 2 sets of tables with all the games and stuff on. And basically, what they were doing is they had all of the YouTube sensations were fighting for charity. The one was up.
I saw promotions.
Yeah, so it's called Brawl, and they were just playing games, and the audience was participating in the game that they had up there. I think it was called like Drawsome or something like that, or Drawful. That's what it was. And they draw a picture out, and they have to guess what it is. But they had a code that you could go on your phone, put the code in, and you could play along with them, which was kind of cool. They had food, drinks, alcohol, the whole thing was set up. And then they just had computers and consoles and everything all over the place in there that you could play whatever games were on them. So that was really cool. They the crowd they gave away a brand new video card. Then they had a mini. There's 6 people. That was it. It was just a mini cosplay contest, and they gave away a $600 video card. So
that's what we missed by leaving early on Friday.
So they did that, and then it was actually a lot of fun. The only problem that they had was every time they tried to start a game up, it wouldn't work.
Oh,
So that kind of rough. They finally got one of the games to work, and by that time I was just like, I'm ready to go. So I dipped out of there, but it was pretty fun. There were a lot of people there. It was amazing, like how many people were actually there, because I was kind of surprised that there will be that many. But they were talking about it pretty big. What I do want to do though is congratulate PopCon on the fact that their volunteers were fucking awesome this year. Like they were everywhere doing anything they could to help people. Because there was a group of them, like they only had 2 people set up for the Kevin Smith thing, and like 3 minutes after we left that, when we left the podcast thing, I was standing over there talking to one of the guys that was helping to organize all that stuff, and he said that they walked over there like, we need some more people for the Kevin Smith thing to get them all organized and for the lines and stuff. They just started flowing out of the woodworks, like from everywhere, and some of those kids told me that they'd been there since like 9 o'clock in the morning, and they were still there when we left. So they had that long of a day, and that shit was for free. Mm-hmm. So they deserve a little bit of recognition.
Well, we also want to thank Carl Doniger for giving us, I guess I said the last name right. Did I said it correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
You're good.
We want to thank him for just the access that we got, for giving us a spot to record a live show, and just the PopCon, the whole event was, I felt, better than last year. Mm-hmm. And it seems to be growing, so I can't imagine what's going to be in store for
this
next year.
The first year, I think that they had on the Pop Connection podcast that I do with one of the owners of PopCon, he said the first year was like, you can do it, but I can't.
Yeah.
I don't think so. So,
because I control the sound effects.
We'll see what happens next year when y'all bitches are asking me for stuff because I got special access. Yeah. Anyway.
Wait. What should we have to add? You're on this show too, Vic. You don't realize that?
But they said the first year there was, I think they said it was like something like 5,000 to 8,000. The second year was like 24,000. This year was like over 30,000. So that I don't know the exact number, but I know it was over 30,000 for sure, which puts them into being the largest dedicated pop culture convention in Indiana, because there are a number of them. So that's pretty good for your third year in. So not too bad.
Yeah, I gotta say too, I've gone to several horror conventions that when they come to town, and then I've been to PopCon every year. I enjoy PopCon much more than I do those other ones. I think I think the diversity that they have amongst with the different types of guests and the space, and just being able, instead of everything being right on top of each other, I think that really makes a difference.
Yeah.
And the volunteers as well too. They really keep everything organized, even though they're volunteers. It's not like they're in charge and they know exactly what needs to be done. So they're going in there kind of blind.
Another pretty funny story I had real quick. I met a young lady from the 5-ish Fangirls podcast. She was the one that was heading the panel that we went to about podcasts. And she said that she kept trying to go see the Red Power Ranger. She said she kept trying to go see the Red Power Ranger. Every time she went over to see the Red Power Ranger, he wasn't there. Like, nonstop. It never failed. She'd make a circuit. She'd come back around. He wasn't there. She'd see him from across the room. She'd go back around. By the time she got back to there, he wasn't there. She could not figure out what happened. Listen to her podcast as she's done her recap for PopCon, and I listened to it last night. The funniest thing is I know exactly where he was, because a friend of mine that has a booth, he was telling me that every time he went out to smoke, because he's a chain smoker, he would go out to smoke to the back access area where they were letting all the stars go out to get away from people. He'd go out there to smoke. The Red Power Ranger was out there every single time. So it's like, I thought it was hilarious.
We didn't see White Power Ranger.
You're right. I did not.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe we just missed him. Hopefully he didn't miss it.
No, there's no missing this guy. You can't.
But I'm saying,
he could have been running circles the same, he could have been concentrics, but I hope he was there, because he's a mainstay at everything we go to.
Yeah, I was really surprised. I realized that on Sunday when I was there. I was like, wait a minute, I never saw the White
If
Power
you're
Ranger.
out there, White Power Ranger, come back.
Yes.
You're not the Power Ranger we want, but you're the Power Ranger we need. All right. Thank you for listening to our second annual Indy PopCon wrap-up show, or Indy PopCon Spectacular. Forgot about that. We really appreciate you guys listening. Again, thank you to the thousands of Showdown fans that showed up for the live recording. Thank you to Carl Doniger and the rest of the staff and volunteers at Indy PopCon. Thank you to Grizz Chapman.
Oh, yeah. Drew
Powell.
Drew Powell.
And everybody else that gave us a bumper or an interview. We really sincerely appreciate it. And again, thank you guys for listening. Please rate, review, follow, like, all that good stuff. This has been the Showdown Podcast, Indy PopCon Spectacular.